Welcome to Culture Before Content. Culture Before Content, from Music for All and presented by Yamaha. And now, here's your host, David Duarte.
Hey, welcome to the show. I'm David Duarte, your host for today's episode of Culture Before Content. We're so excited to have you here with us on the Music for All podcast network. I'd also like to take a moment to thank Yamaha, who is our national presenting sponsor, for their incredible and ongoing support in making this podcast possible for everyone tuning in. At Music for All, and with our entire Culture Before Content community, our mission is to create, provide, and expand positively life-changing experiences through music, which I hope we do every day. We hope this podcast offers inspiration, ideas, and support to anyone who is committed to make a lasting impact on the students' lives through the power of music. Our guests take their time to share their success, and I hope it's something we can all learn from. I know I do. I love the fact that I get to learn every single week. So first, let's talk about why we're here. We were live for many of us here on Facebook, on YouTube. Some of you are listening on the podcast, but we'd love to hear you if you're here live to be a part of the conversation. Ask some questions, just post anything, just share your thoughts and interact with us in real time. It's great. And if we get you on the show, we might get a chance to answer some questions for you. If you miss any part of the broadcast, don't worry. You can catch us on the full rebroadcast, usually on Mondays. The audio version is typically available on Mondays through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and other podcast platforms. And if you have any questions, you can just visit musicforall.org/podcast. And you can find more than just this podcast. You can find the social emotional. You can find breaking ranks. They're all good. I love listening to them, especially on the audio versions. All right. So let's talk about last week. Last week was amazing. We had Randall Standridge, composer, and actually just human extraordinaire. Randall, you are an inspiration. I had such a fun time. We talked on things such as mental health. We talked about composition. We talked about, how the band grading system, writing. We just talked about a million things. We talked about rural band programs, small band programs, and just a lot of amazing things. And I think my favorite part, to be honest with you, we got to talk a little video games last week. Love my video games, but if you got a chance, go take a listen to that. Randall is an inspiration to us all. He is such a great personality, and I can't thank him enough for coming on the show. But enough about last week. So we're excited. We have somebody special today, someone whose bands have done amazing things. We have Melissa Gustafson-Hinds with us today. Her remarkable success is building an award-winning inclusive band program who has set a standard for music education. And Melissa's ability to cultivate excellence while supporting a connected community has made her a leader in our field. She is someone whose approach consistently drives both achievement and, my favorite, a positive culture. So without any further ado, please welcome Melissa Gustafson-Hinds. Welcome.
Hello, everyone.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited you're here. I have been, by the way, although my listeners, I always say this, when I have someone on the show, I have to say I kind of scope out everything. And I was listening to your band play at Midwest the other day, and oh my gosh, the Katash Copley piece was so amazing. So congrats on that, by the way. I know it's been a couple of years, but why don't you take a second and introduce us, where you teach, where you're from, anything you want to share.
Yeah, I'm Melissa Gustafson-Hinds. I've been teaching 31 years, all in public school, Illinois. So kind of nearing the end of my public school teaching career, which seems a little wild. Grew up in rural Illinois, Monmouth, Illinois. So shout out to my dad that's watching and a lot of his friends today. Went to Illinois State University. I'm an oboe player, which is why I do all this marching band that we'll probably talk about at some point. That's funny, right? I was a drum major there as well. So a lot of conducting and leadership experience. After that, I was able to get a great teaching position in Unit 5 schools with a ton of just really great music teachers. And it was kind of a Texas style where we all taught the elementaries with our area of expertise. I taught at the middle school level and the high school level as well. And after that, I ventured down to Southern Illinois, where I currently am. And I've taught at just a few different positions down here. And some were band and some were a lot of choir, which I never thought I would teach choir, but I have probably, I don't know, almost half my career on and off.
Really?
As an instrumentalist. So, but now I've been at O'Fallon for 17 years. And so we've
Uh,
been, doing great things here, and the community loves band. And so I am blessed to be the director of bands here.
Well, we are blessed to have you on the show. I will say that. So you said you've been teaching for 31 years. So to my listeners, I think apparently she's only been teaching since she was 5 years old because, oh my gosh, you said 31 years. Like, wow. Um, but you've been doing some amazing thing. Can you tell us some of the things like recently that your band has done? Like I always like this to get the audience listening to why culture is so important. I think it's important to set up some of the successes that you've had, and then maybe we can talk about how those successes happened.
Yeah, of course. So we've had a pretty good stretch of performances as of late. So, and I think to kind of cut to the chase on that, during the fun COVID year and a half that we all had to deal with, Illinois had pretty strict rules, and so we just did everything we could to focus on the individual students, whether it's FaceTime lessons or little outside groups that we were able to do, or video push outs or what have you, to keep the program going. And so, all the things I'm going to describe that happened after that, I really think if we wouldn't have done all of that during COVID, that wouldn't have been the case. And that's probably where I think, had some strength in the program, through students' strengths, achievements, and parents as well. But within the past 3 or 4 years, we've done the Rose Parade. We've played at the All-State Convention twice, with our jazz band. So shout out to Philip Carter and Matthew Murphy, who are my colleagues here, that put that together. We have played at Super State, which is a band festival at the University of Illinois. We've been the honor band there. We have performed at the Midwest Clinic, which I never would have thought that was in my deck of cards for the program, or even myself as a teacher. So we are blessed to do that. And then last year we were at the Thanksgiving Day Parade in Macy's in New York. So this year
Wow.
seems a little more relaxed. But all that being said, we have the Super Regional this upcoming week. So
Oh
um,
yeah, Bands
yeah,
of America, correct?
that's correct. Yep.
That's amazing. So tell us about like maybe the size of your school and maybe like tell us a little bit about your program and the size of your school.
Yeah. So our school is around 2,500 students. There are two campuses. So we are back and forth between the two buildings. So there's a freshman center, and then there's a 10, 11, 12 center where I am right now,
Mhm.
which is kind of the main hub of all of our band activities and marching band practices and things like that. So we have 4 concert bands. Um, and also during COVID, we did this big curriculum change here, which I think has also been a game changer for maybe culture and our success of the program, as we have everybody in all the concert bands. So when you watch our marching band last year, the previous years, or this upcoming weekend, not everybody in the program is in the marching band. It is the majority of students, but it's not everybody. So we saw like a disjunct of the concert band student, the concert band only student in the fall, and then the marching band student. So we were able to combine our music ed forces, we'll say, and we have everybody in all the concert bands. Now, color guard is a separate class, but we
Right,
have
right.
4 concert bands. All the freshmen, no matter what ability, are in the freshman band, over at their campus. And then we have 3 leveled concert bands over here. And we have the marching band students in it and the concert band students. And we actually performed a fall concert last Tuesday.
Wow.
Yeah.
My concerts are next week. I think I have 2 days till I have a concert. It's always that lovely time of the year when you're like, "Oh, yeah, I should probably start thinking about those kinds of details."
Yep.
But the neat thing about your bands is and I always say, encourage your website, by the way, for our listeners out there is othsband.com. Is that correct?
That is correct.
othsband.com.
Mhm.
You should take a look at this website. It is fabulous. There's drop-down menus, and you can go through, take a look at the ensembles, take a look at how the band. Oh, and you have some neat things. You got some sponsor pages going. You got sponsors all
Mhm.
over. It is a really,
Yep.
I want my compliments to you. That is a really well-designed website to take a look at for all of us. And you said, so your marching band is not mandatory. Is that something that has occurred recently? Is it always been the way that it's been? And the reason I ask is because I like to read the Facebook post, and a lot of people were commenting about mandatory band and not mandatory. And I'm a big fan of not, because I think when kids want to be there, the culture is amazing.
Yeah, we do a couple of unique things within it, I will say, but it's not mandatory. They do get a PE credit. So
Oh,
that is nice in Illinois, that we have that option, that they get that. So the unique tie that we have, if you are sitting in the top ensemble or aiming to do that, you are also in the marching band.
Wow.
So, and the reason, and sometimes I go, I mean, to be honest with the audience, like sometimes I go back and forth with this a little bit, we, even just talking to my colleagues about it, like, is that something we should maintain? But I will say, the marching band is a way that our really highly invested students can be right there with our brand new students coming into the program. So that probably ties into some of the, the culture before content that we're talking about, is
Right.
developing the culture. Like these kids that have been in this program the entire time, they're in lessons and have done ILMEA and honor bands and all the extra, and our leaders with our other students. But that's the time that they can stand literally side by side, hours of rehearsal, be their friend, be their confidant, someone these new students look up to. It is a super great way for our program to be connected. So,
Well, would you say with the way that your bands play and the level of musicianship that you have at your school, that those kids in that one wind ensemble kind of convince those younger kids to be a part or want to be a better musician? Would
I,
that be fair?
100%, 100%.
Because
And we have a great leadership team here that we train students once they, get selected for that position, which is kind of like a job application that they do in the spring. But we do training every single day in the summer with them as to how we want them to be, the O'Fallon way of leadership. And to be honest, it's serving others. You've had the great band experience. So how can you make everybody else have that great band experience? So we do it by just service, being a good person, being proactive, being helpful, being kind, being the leader that like will take someone from point A to point B, not like here's point A and I'm going to direct you to point B. I'm actually going to take you there. So that's a lot of what we do. And I think just when I see everybody together, boosters involved, I mean, it's a really powerful thing. And I always think like we have this in the marching band. How can I get that in the concert band? Kind of the same vibe of that. But we host a Music for All regional. So that day, all of our bands are together. We do a state soul and ensemble contest, and we have the past couple years really got the freshmen to be more involved in that. And so that's a day our program's all together. But I'm very cognizant of how can our program be together and kind of feed off each other and learn from each other in the process
and
within all of that.
how much of that is your belief, like say how you grew up or how what you've learned over life? How much of that is your influence over your program?
I guess interesting enough, I think it's just years of experience and seeing what's best for kids and then leading them in a certain way that so everybody gets the best experience. When the new students come into a program, wherever they are, they don't know what to expect. And really coming from any middle school, junior high program, even if you're in the same district, it's a leap.
Oh,
It
it's a
is, it
leap.
is. And it's very scary, I think, for students. And so that they have if they know something that is accepting of everybody and they can have friends initially and relationships and a common thread. I mean, that's why we even encourage our seniors, like, play in band. Like wherever you go, like keep playing because those are people you have something in common with. And so, I mean, that's the next thing that we do when they leave here is like, please, find a way to keep music in your life because that's who you are. And it's a way to, get acquainted with your new environment.
Yeah, and I think we as band directors are smart enough to realize not every kid is going to keep playing their instrument. We're not recruiting kids to go on to college and play. I mean, we band directors are the ones like, yeah, we're not stopping. We're still not stopping. There's my saxophone back there. I got to play a musical on Wednesday. So whoever's out there, I will be showing up. I don't even know where I'm going yet, but there's that instillment of a lifelong appreciation of music. And what I'm hearing is you really are student centered on your approach, and now that is so refreshing. So how do you get some of those abilities to transfer to the student, like that caring, like that just bringing the best out of others and getting them to be kind? Because I know a lot of people, especially in maybe smaller programs, sometimes they struggle on getting the kids to get the attitude that they want. Do you have any like magic recipes or things that you just that do, or just common things that you do that instill that in your kids?
Well, I think a few things of what you said is it's all communication. But it's a lot. Like our program has a lot of members and we're kind of probably in the middle of, membership of size of a program with our school. But it's just it's talking to kids. And not like just chit chat, but also like, how are you doing today? But then beyond that, like, is your clarinet working? Let me listen to you play a couple scales. Like it's tending to every single person. I think also um more of a focus that we need to think as music teachers is we owe it to the kids that are in front of us to make it a good experience. I met with some students at the University of Illinois. Actually, I think it was just a couple Sundays ago, as to what their goals are as music education students, soon to be teachers. And I think what's so challenging about everything that we have to do as music teachers, whether you're choir, general music, band, orchestra, whatever, is we are deciding everything, everything. So everything you see O'Fallon Township High School doing, or really any program across the country, is someone has made all those decisions for kids. Whether it's picking a band piece, which you were talking about, last
Right.
week on your podcast, or a contest, or when to schedule a concert, or what your boosters are going to be doing, or I mean, all these different things, and all those decisions really make your culture. So it's for me as the director here with my colleagues deciding the right decisions every single year for the kids that are in front of us. And it's a lot. I think it's a lot for younger teachers coming into this, that you have to decide so many things. I mean, and it gets to be overwhelming. To get back to all of this, it's decisions that we're making here that create these great experiences for kids. And we hope that every day we're making from, are we taking the charter bus and what time we're leaving here? And all these like little minute details, that we're always moving forward, and not moving side
Right.
to side, because these experiences, they are life changing. And I had a few students really as of late reach out to me just through different messaging ways of, hey, without you, I would not be doing this today. And sometimes I think we get caught up in all the stress of the day and everything that's bogged down, emails and communication, all these other things, to think back, like, we're making a difference with each of these kids. And sometimes you have no idea that you're making the difference, but you are.
I,
You
I
are.
was, yeah, and I always say to people, don't ever stop and don't ever believe what a kid says. The action is almost everything to me, because
Yep.
sometimes you think that kid maybe be scowling for a week. Maybe there's something going on that has nothing to
Correct.
do with band, and it could be that you are that bright, sunny spot of that day.
Yep.
And you never know. So just like never give up. So that actually gets me to the other part that you said, because I did my first trip yesterday, and it was neat because it's like the first time getting on the bus, but I got a chance to bond with my parents, and all of them were like their first trip with me. So you're 35 years of experience gets to talk the first trip to my band parents, and it was just the way I handle parents has changed. When I first was a director, I was so scared of them because I thought of them as parents, and now I hate to say this, now I think of them as like most of them can be my children, and that age group. And so my approach to them has changed. But in truth, as I got older, it didn't have to. I could have just approached it as being the band director, and this is what we do. This is why
Mhm.
we do it. And how is your communication? I know with your kids is going great, but how do you train some of your parents, or like do the older parents help the younger parents? Not age wise. I'm just mean, the newer and the
Yeah.
older, but what kind of transitions have you had to get your parents online? Because it's definitely that you have complete support of your program.
Well, I have a great connection with my parents. At least I hope that people watching believe that I do. I
Woo!
talk to, I would say, several band parents every single day about decisions that we're making, or the schedule, or communication, or something like that. So I think I have an advantage here that I've been here X amount of years. I have parents that have had several children in the program. So there's been a common thread there. I would say also, speaking for my parents, they know that I'm here a lot and I'm very invested in the program. But I would say also for younger teachers, or even like other teachers, I explain to my parents why I'm making decisions. And I do it to my students too. So like, why are we not taking a charter bus to this place? Why are we doing this? Or why are we wearing the school uniform today? Or why, whatever. But I have that bond with them to say,
Right.
I think we should do this, or what do you think, or different things like that. But I guess also kind of where you are in life, I'm about the same age as most of my parents, plus or minus some other years, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? So, and I've known
I'm
some of them.
plussing.
Okay. I've known them a long time, and so it's definitely a different relationship than what I've had before when I was
Mhm.
younger. And I still hear that from younger teachers that say, "What advice do you have for me when these parents are kind of doing this?" And I think the big thing is just communicating, taking a step back, and trying to find like a middle ground of why you're making decisions. But I've had challenging things with parents along the years. I definitely have.
Oh,
So
I think we all have. And
yeah,
I want to say to like, I had to learn this when I became an administrator, speak the job and not the person. So speak who you are, speak your position and not who you are, and you will
yep.
find that the words will come because you're speaking of the responsibility to the job and not who you are or anything. That was super helpful. Whoever told me that. So thank you, whoever told me that. So what is your communicate? I'm just curious because this is some of the culture thing. What is your communication method? Do you have newsletters? Do you have a remind band app? What do you use?
We have a number of different things, but I will share one thing that's really great that we have been doing probably for, I don't know, maybe 8, 10 years or something. But we have all the apps like everybody
Yeah.
does. We use the band app. We were on Charms. We're now on Cut Time. So that's been a little bit of a finagling thing, but we are working through that and that's going pretty well. I shoot out messages through our school messaging system where it's called Skyward, but like everybody
Oh,
has different
I
like.
love that word. Woo, that
All right.
one's
So if
super
it's
sharp.
like, we'll say Dr. G urgent, I'll send it out there because it'll hit everybody like as a school email. So we'll do that. All of our leadership in the marching band have little group me's and things like that, but we are on all of them. So bless our phones that they're like tick, 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 all the time when they're talking about like what things to do and whatnot. But I would say one of the number one things that we do that I would like to share with everybody that's been a game changer for us is it's called Band Together. We have a coordinator for Band Together, and we have invested parents of flutes, double reeds, clarinets, all the
Mm.
different sections. And so, if anybody has any questions as to what the flutes do or what time to show up for a concert or little things like that, that parent can contact that parent instead of emailing me.
Oh,
And
that sounds amazing.
yeah, it's great. And they have little social things. They have a little Facebook sites for all of them. Before COVID, we used to have like a big kind of kickoff dinner during band camp that I would come and speak, and then they would all sit together to meet each other, kind of just as sections in your band. So, but that's something that has been great. It's been
Yeah,
great.
I just believe that communication and that communication creates connection. Connection and creates responsibility. Responsibility creates all of those things.
Yep.
And trying to find that. And I think in my heart, like I returned to teaching. Okay, I came out of retirement to take over for COVID. So that was great. I was just throwing that out there. Like that's a great time to restart your teaching career of like, oh yeah, okay, let's see what happens. But I never stopped and I just go with communication. And so one of the things that I've learned is if I don't get email, if I don't get responses, I'm actually communicating. It's when I do get communications that I'm just like, what did I forget? So I'm
Yep.
constantly,
Yep.
constantly, always asking questions of my students and my parents. What am I not thinking? What's going on? Tell me what you think about those upcoming weeks. So that's some of my suggestions. But listening to you, it's amazing because I just feel like it just comes so naturally to you, that some of us just need to. I'm going to look up that band together. So let's talk about a little about the culture of success because that's where really I am so excited that you came on the show today because you don't get to Midwest, you don't get to Super State, you don't get to the positions that a band gets without having training, without having your band in a position. And it has to start with how you train your kids, what you train your kids with, classroom culture, classroom
Hmm.
management, any of those types of things. So, I'm not really interested. That came out wrong. I'm totally interested. I just my mouth. I rephrase. I'm interested. It doesn't matter whether it's marching band, concert band, jazz
Hmm.
band, any band. What are some of your beliefs to get your band program running? Looks like if you're starting a school year, what are those things that you do to set up? What do kids need to know? What do they need to learn? Let's start the bidding.
Well, I'd say just anytime we start something new, whether it's like a kickoff of marching band or a kickoff of concert band, we do a lot of communication. Like when marching band starts, we'll have a meeting all the way in February for new students to come in. We'll have 2 meetings. We have new member meeting because we're near a military base, so we get military move-ins and new students that maybe they didn't join the first year for whatever. So we have the 2 meetings. We have an incoming meeting, new member meeting, and then we have returning member meeting of what we think the season's going to be, costs that we're looking at, scheduling, things like that. So we kick that off like relatively early. We do the same thing anytime we have a trip. When concert band starts, we have a syllabus that's not like a long read, just 2 pages. It's organized well that says everything that they need to have for that experience, dates, just things that a parent needs as opposed to like a 24-page handbook, although we do have that.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's just being clear with expectations And then also, I would say for any teacher out there, it's whatever your expectation is, then you have to live in that. And it's not going backwards on it. And it's like just pushing that ahead. I think one asset that we have and one strength that we have with our program, teaching wise, is pacing. And I learned that from Steve Steele. If he's watching, I know that's a similar friend for us. But probably the big thing I learned from him is just being efficient with instruction, with the experience, all these different things. And so when the students come to a marching band rehearsal or a concert band or jazz band or whatever we have here at OTHS, that we're going to start rehearsal at X time. We're going to do all these X things towards the goal, and everything's very planned out. So I think that does help with our success of things and getting fundamentals learned and getting the music out and making sure everything's, I mean, no pun intended, planned out in like kind of a timely fashion here. Yeah.
Well, just to our listeners, Steve Steele was the director of bands at Illinois State. He happened to be like, we find out these connections from all, when you talk to people. He happened to be my first college band director. And so it's just kind of that weird connection that we have somebody that we have in common, but we didn't meet through it because we know each other. We met because we had that success. And Steve Steele is just, that man is just preaches what to do, how to be successful, how to make a band program. And I had the privilege of watching his high school band programs because his first year of college was my first year of college. So I got to see him transition and all that. So, and if you haven't looked up the Illinois State band program when he was there, just so many successful things. What a great mentor. So shout out Steve Steele. Yep. I hope you are listening or do listen eventually. But let's talk about your rehearsal structure. So, I mean, maybe concert band, maybe freshman band. Oh, I guess freshman band. I don't know. I got to remember how your structures, but maybe one of your concert bands. What are, like, say it's day one, what are they going to be playing? What are the warm up expectations? How do you put together your structure?
Well, that's a big one I like to mention is how we've restructured like our fundamentals and warm up sequence. We did that actually during COVID as well, which I think led to a lot of these, like, we'll say, performance opportunities that we have had. But we are a believer in the Yamaha Harmony Director, which I did not use literally until COVID, like fall of 2020. We started using it more. We used it a little bit in the spring. We had some people come out and train us, but like I had some Texas friends that walked in our band and were like, "Hey, Melissa, where's your harmony director?" And I was like,
It changes.
Yeah, it's not. It does. It
changes your life. If you're out there listening and you don't have one, get one and get the new one, because the new one is super fantastic. And you'll be shocked what your kids will learn to do with it, especially when it comes to intonation.
Right. And then we also use, another shout out to Michael Pote at Carmel High School. We use his ensemble approach. You can get on the John Fannin website. We use that like it's gospel. We use it for all of our concert bands. I use it always when I go out for an honor band situation. We use the same warm-ups outside as well. I know a lot of people use different fundamentals for marching band and inside. That we use the same. Now, do we do scales and flexibility things? Of course we do. But for sound, like that is probably the big thing that we focus on that I see other programs that don't, is just making sure we sound great. Like everything's in tune, like tone in all the instruments is the characteristic tone. Are we blending appropriately? We don't, I walk into some band rooms and they're starting all these like flexibility things and double tonguing things within the second exercise. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, we just play a concert F and we sound as great as we can on it. And then we move on to the next thing. I mean,
you're striking a nerve right here, because, I'm going to talk to you as the choir teacher, because I also am that person that has taught choir for years and years. And I took a 21-year gap, but I'm on this year. But what I've learned is intonation is clarity. Clarity is ensemble. Ensemble is greatness. Volume has no place in it. It just happens through that thing. And that's kind of like what I said, going back to that harmony director. When you said concert app, I'm laughing because it's that voyage of discovery of what intonation does. And then you said the other magic words, and thank you. Characteristic tone. It literally is my guiding words. Jazz band, characteristic tone. Saxophone, characteristic tone. Classical, characteristic tone, because it means something different per style, per those things. But that use of that to get to intonation, to get clarity, to create sounds. Yep. Oh my gosh, so warm. That's why I said I want to hear how people do their warm-up structures, because I have that same belief. Just a funny side story from yesterday. We were outside. My band doesn't play outside. I mean, we do pep band and stuff, but we were outside warming up, and it's like, oh yeah, I don't have my harmony director with me, so I pull up TE Tuner and I just sang pitches straight out, and I used my voice as my harmony director. And sure enough, those kids just lock into that concert F. They lock into concert, and they just start, and it's just glorious. So maybe talk through a little bit about what some of those warm-ups are, because I like to hear some of those kinds of things.
Yeah, well, they're and the thing that's nice about this, I guess, exercise, method is it's very simple. So I think a lot of people probably see the harmony director and just don't know how to incorporate or how to use it. But this fundamental packet that you can purchase, it tells you everything to say. It tells you what to play on the harmony director. It tells you percentages of balance as well, if you like to go super scientific with different things like that. It's pretty phenomenal, but it just starts with like building like your band in 4 groups from low to high, blending on a concert F. And the thing that's also nice about that is when you're rehearsing, we'll say most band music, not all, but you can say, hey, can I just hear group 3 and 4 right here on this, or group 1 and 2? And it's almost similar groupings that you would have in most concert band literature. Most. Once again, I don't want to go like all the way to the detail on that. And then after that, it has another exercise that just does the 3 parts of a note where you start a concert F, you sustain, and you release. And the thing that's nice about it also is it will give it for 4 counts and then a 4 count rest where you can quickly add instruction, which I do. So like they'll play and then I'll be like, hey, you didn't do this, or hey, great job, or hey, listen to this. And they play it again. And you can loop it as much as you want. You can do it at different dynamic levels if you want. You can do it at different tempos. The next exercise we go into is an articulation exercise that still gives you opportunity in between the reps to like add different comments. It talks about note length. Do the notes touch? Are they 75%? Are they lifted? And you can add obviously just different articulations. You can change the note off a concert F. You can make it a chord, all sorts of things. There's a few droning exercises where the students will play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the pure temperament. So that's a different listening environment as opposed to them just trying to do it on their own and guessing, and you just play it with them. It's really simple. There's chorales. There's actually new chorales that I think have just been put out. So that have the pure temperament in them as well. And so the students know, are they on the 3rd, the 5th, or the tonic pitch, and how to blend and move. Yeah.
So what would you say your warm up, like how long are your rehearsals? I forgot that question. How long is a typical rehearsal?
A class period is 55 minutes here. We're not on block, but we see the kids every single day. So we usually give them about a minute and a half to set up everything. I know that's so fast. We're like,
you're so mean. That's
chop, kids.
My goodness. I have 3 minutes. I give them 3 minutes.
Yeah, we don't do that. We're like, let's get it done.
Well, how long would a typical warm up be in your band program? Because
it kind of depends. So I would say Monday will be longer.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, we say like we haven't done anything. And towards the end of the week, it does go shorter because they just are getting back into I hate to say in the swing of things, but they are. But like at the beginning of the week, I will spend more time to make sure it is what it needs to be. And I will not go on to another exercise until it's close to how it needs to be. Like I don't like to stand in front of a group and have them make sounds that they should not be making or out of tune or different things. And I know some of these things are training the ears over time, that not everything is going to click with students, even in a top ensemble, but it's them knowing where we are right now and making sure we're hearing the same things.
Right. And so and you said that's fascinating that you say that, because I like that. That's my belief is how do you learn to let go? It's like, and that's not the question for you. That's a question for like everyone out there. At some point, you know that they're going to get it and you have to let go to go on to some of those things. So as you're monitoring improvement, as I say, what's your check for understanding? So like it's neat that you say Monday's long, Friday's short, because it is that thing. Okay, I'm I'm letting that go, but knowing when to let go and when to go back and reinforce. That's part of the key. Because I always tell people when I'm taking over a program, it's like 4 or 5 years before it's going to settle into what it's going to be. I'm on year 4. And it's amazing. It's the 4th year is completely different. But after COVID, it's a whole different. I just going to keep saying it's a whole different ballgame, having to restructure those things. But people hear your band in year 1 and think that's the way it's always going to be. People hear your band in year 2. But that's why I said I'm super fascinated with that comment, because that is learning that they're going to get it. So this is what maybe we spent 20 minutes doing it today. I have to let go. We're going to move on. I'm going to keep that
Yep.
in my mindset of like, this got improved on tomorrow, make my little notes like that. To me, I'm always collecting data of, okay, yeah, we really need to work on pulling down the third in minor. And because it's a little different than the major, blah, blah, just kind of those things. But that's for me. I'm such a band nerd. So let's talk about a little bit about maybe a literature rehearsal. What's a typical concert for you? 2 tunes, 3 tunes, 5 tunes, 100 tunes, all grade 6. I'm kidding. I'm just kidding.
Well, I mean, we think about the course of the year and how to start, where we want to start. We start kind of backed up and then we kind of move through that. We also think about what are our performances? What are we aiming for? In February for us, that's a busy kind of festival check time where we have to make recordings and things like that. So we have to think what music should we play in the fall? We know we have a lot of like life rigor with a lot of the students in marching band and different things. Like, what are some things that we can do that will be great for them, exciting and accessible? All of that. So, with our younger bands, we don't start with a lot of white on the page. We want them to be playing together in a lot of 2D moments and things like that, and music that's that they can roll into pretty quickly. We are not a unit district here, so we get people, we have like 3 or 4 schools that come into here with different experiences,
Right.
and which is fine. I'm friends with all of those really great teachers. And so once they get here, it's like combining forces and then unifying what we need to do and then moving from there. So, but I think that the challenge of picking literature right at the start of the year is kind of, where is this band going to sit and different things. And there's times we're like, hey, this piece is too much or it's not enough. And then we just do some quick changes of different things like that, which then we can probably analyze and assess getting through the rest of the year. I also have my go-to people of what is new, what is exciting, what are people playing. Philip Carter, who is with me here, is fantastic at literature and has a little more personal time to kind of research some things, but
Right.
he's one of my go-tos as to what some of these new and upcoming composers are writing. But I have a lot of like university professor friends that I call of different things, especially for the top ensemble. Then I have a few other friends that are teaching younger levels as to what they're playing. But that's one of our biggest decisions. And it's really tough for me because the music selection makes the experience for the kids, and it's what we're teaching. It's our content. It's not like a math class that has their textbook or their AP curriculum. Like, that's our
Yeah.
curriculum. And then, and obviously you probably hear this on other webinars or whatever. But when you choose one piece, you're choosing that piece for a reason. And
Right.
you want to make sure it's right and it's exciting for kids. And I think also, I know we're talking a little bit about COVID right now, but since all of that, I think the music selection process is a little bit different. And I think of it differently. I think of it not only like what's on the standard list, and I make sure I play the Hindemus Symphony every 5 years. I'm not even really thinking that way anymore. I'm thinking what is great and what is the music that's going to be expressive for my kids as I stand in front of them, what music matches those kids
Right.
and is going to be great for those kids. And I never really thought about that. I think I thought very textbook on literature before everything happened. And now I don't think that way as much at
When I
all.
was younger, I think a lot of my problem with my literature selection is it's what I've done in the past and what, and kind of like not necessarily the popular piece, but it's kind of like what you're supposed to do. Whereas now I'm very purposeful in my programming. Like, do you have like maybe for your wind ensembles, something new or something recent what's a favorite piece that might be one of yours? I love hearing about these.
Well, we're looking at all sorts of different things right now. We're playing at a junior high all-state experience.
Mm.
And so I have to think what's still going to be great for us because we've got a few performances around that, but what would be great for that level of student to listen to us, that's exciting. So we have pulled out right now a piece called Grayscale by Michael Berry. Steve Steele actually mentioned that to me, and if you go on YouTube to listen to it, it's all these like Hollywood studio musicians playing it. But we thought that'd be a great way to start the concert. I'm looking at Via Kong's Deciduous. I heard that when I was at a Music for All regional last April, out at Clovis North. Shout out to that school and that director. And that composer's doing such unique things with sounds. I mean, it's just so new and refreshing and different. So we're looking at that piece and then a couple other pieces that are kind of more standard-esque that we have done. So, but just different things that are really enjoyable to play that are going to be successful for our students and kind of pushing the next thing.
Well, I like it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I like that you have the purpose for why you do the piece, because sometimes I said, I think when I was younger, I used to pick the piece, but it didn't really necessarily have the purpose. I thought I was supposed to do that piece.
Yeah.
Us linear thinkers sometimes got to get like, out of our heads and get onto why we're doing the piece. What about for your younger bands? You got a favorite recent piece or even just a standard piece?
Well,
I always like,
yeah, a piece that we just did, like I said, we had a concert just like about a couple weeks ago. We did a piece by Kataj Copley, which he is putting out so
yeah,
much music. So I mean, so much. I don't know how he's even like living and going to school, which I think he is, and then writing. It seems pretty crazy. It's called Neon Nights. It isn't cut time, which I know is everybody's favorite time signature to teach, including mine. But despite that, it's got some solo opportunities in there. And then for our freshmen, what we thought would be fun is we did it in the dark. So we turned the lights down at the concert, and then I bought all those little glow stick things. We had little stand lights, and I had them all like popping the glow sticks, and then we literally just kind of try to look like the piece, which I thought was super fun for them. So, and a great way to kind of kick off our year. But the freshmen that I have this year are extraordinary. They're a you know they're a, they started as a beginning band class in COVID, which was
right.
super challenging. So they started months late. They have stood the test of time. So the talent level in there is higher than it normally is. But I think these are the kids that have really, really worked and loved bands. And those kids are super fun. That's how I start my day. And I mean, they played Second Suite. They played the march from that at the concert.
Wow.
Yeah.
What
So
what grade do they start in your district? What grade are the kids?
one feeder starts in fourth, which if
Okay.
I would have started in fourth, I would have been like this big for people that know me. I'm still kind of that size. And then everybody else starts about fifth. So
Yeah, because I was thinking, because in my brain right now, the eighth graders that are there this year, this is probably the first set of normal kids that had fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade. So this is probably your first coming up next year. The freshmen will be the
right,
first
right,
cycle of kids that got the normal cycle.
right.
I was just looking at the my tiny little district, but you can just see the normality has hit finally, and we
Hmm.
the high schools are just waiting for those. It's going to be an 8-year process to get that
Yep.
all of COVID to flow out and just being purposeful. But
Yeah.
how do you, this is the question that I got. How do you get the level of students that you have in your program to get to the Rose Bowl, to get, which we'll talk about, to get to Macy's, to get to Midwest? Oh, and I should encourage you. You should look at Wibbick. That's one of those ones where if your band ever needs to play, look it up. WIBC, Scott McKee. I'm sorry I mentioned you, but it's just one of those places that I have found. And honor bands are great there, and that's a whole different system. But that's one of those places where you get to go. But how do
Hmm.
you get your kids to that level? What do you feel is that secret to your success?
I think probably just all of our leadership here as teachers. We want the best for the kids. We do a lot of things behind the scenes, like I said earlier, to make great decisions for them. But I also know that as the director here, like I'm leading the cause. I am very passionate about music education. Every single time I get up to teach, I try to have as much like positive energy, but also like sense of urgency that it needs to be great. We need to be right. Um, I'm also, I would say, for people that know me, an example of really working hard to make things great for others. Um, I think probably a combination of all of that, and it takes time. I think a lot of people see bands or even just different ensembles across the country and think it just happens overnight. It really, like, I've been here quite a long time to continue building something that was already great when I got here. Um, Thinking back to just, different people that help create the culture, but just, a couple weeks ago, I was able to connect with my very first seniors that were here at O'Fallon, and they kind of had a rough go of it and had multiple
Mhm.
band directors right before me. So like, probably who's this girl coming in? We've got another one, when I showed up. But if those kids were not have been as great as they were to me, I probably wouldn't have stuck it out, but I guess with everything we're talking about, it's just slowly building things that need to be great for kids, and really, especially with music needs to be right. They need to play in
Yes.
tune. They play to play together. They need to all these different things, and we don't always do that, but we aim for it. And that's even like where we are right now. Like we're walking into like a giant regional with so many great bands. Like everybody is going to be phenomenal that weekend. And I live on with the kids that I know that I have done everything I possibly can for them to get them where they are. And I don't mean me. I mean, I'm just leading the charge. I've got a whole team of fantastic people with me at all times. And I'm never flying solo in this thing. But I just tell the kids, and it's kind of like my little saying here is like, have we done all the things? All of them. And that's like in rehearsal, are we focused? Are we planned? Are you as students doing everything you can every rep every single time, which it's a lot. I'm probably that strict parent. If you were to come out and watch me, I'm like, no, again, it's not, or I'll explain why. And it's, I call it my all the things. And,
So
and that's and
speaking,
that's how I live. I mean, I do live on that. Like every day I get up, I'm like, have I been a good wife? Have I been a good mom? Have I been a good band director? Have I been a good friend? And I'm not always 100% on all of them, but I do live on that. So when things don't go our way or don't go how we think they should. I just have to go back with my students to be like, did we do everything? And if we
yeah, but
did, then that's all we can do.
yeah, well, I would say that your standards are why your band standards are so high, and that's why I always encourage people to get to know some of our guests and get to know them. So, um, speaking of family, I hear you got an okay percussion instructor at your school. Is that true?
I have a lot of them, but I have one that's very personal to me. Yes.
Yeah, tell me about that for a second.
Yeah. Well, Evan Hines is my husband of almost 24 years. He's
I think that's
been
incredible, by the way, that you
Well,
get to work.
it probably is. I mean, because for people that know me, I'm a busy girl and I like to do lots of band things. And we met earlier in my career. And when I first met him, I I was very intrigued that it was somebody when I first moved down here to Southern Illinois that thought the same way I do about education and music and different things like that. But although if you meet him, we are very different people. So, but I think that works in our relationship, and, he's always been a great supporter of me, of allowing me to be who I've wanted to be, as I'll throw out there as a female, like, high school band director, which is a challenge. We also have a child, which is now that's a whole other factor in different things, and we are blessed to have her in our lives, and now in my career, it's probably even busier. The program has just more bells and whistles, no pun
Yeah.
intended. And then I am out doing lots of different things with different organizations, which I am very honored and blessed to do because music people are the best. And so it's a lot, where we both are. He's judging every single weekend. And obviously I'm doing band things most weekends. So we have to manage where our daughter is and who she's with and even during the week with rehearsals and meetings and all sorts of things. It's a lot, but
Well, I was thinking
yeah,
to myself because being a mom, being a wife. Luckily, I guess luckily you're in the same field, but and things can
yeah.
understand that way. But I'm sure becoming a mother also had an impact as you as a teacher, and maybe your perspective of things has changed or stayed the same. Maybe.
I think so. I think when people see me, I do think a little bit more in the lens of a parent, but I think I did before. I used to, and I'll throw this out there. I used to hate to get that comment before I had a child that parents would say, well, you're not a parent.
Mm.
And that used to just be so painful to me. I'm like, I love all your kids.
Yeah.
I
I
do.
rent
I'm
them every
sorry. You know what I
day.
mean? Right. But I will say, I think with the program and with all of the kids, I'm the tough parent. I am. I am really, I think kids kids know the standard of me, and so they're not gonna come to me or they'll be hesitant to say they're missing a rehearsal for something like that's like maybe work related or not gonna be acceptable, or if they decide to not take an audition or go full this or whatever, because they know they come to me, that's gonna turn around in a second.
So,
So, yeah.
speaking of people that respect you, you're also the assistant director of the Bands of America Honor Band at the 20,002. I can't even talk. 2026 Rose Parade. I'll say
Correct.
Bands of America Honor Band and the 2026 Rose
Yep.
Parade. Can you tell us a little about? Oh, there it is up on the banner for our listeners. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, we are super excited about this event coming up, and this is such a good opportunity for all kids across the country, whether you've participated in it or not. I've done the Rose Parade with O'Fallon twice, and I will
Ah,
say to march down on that day with
oh, look
that,
at that
just
picture.
it's thousands and thousands of people that are just loving the day. You kick off your year. the people that obviously organize the Rose Parade are the very best and are kind and professional, and it's such an elite experience for everybody involved. It's hard to put into words, like, really, like, how fantastic it is.
Yeah.
Now the parade is very long, so that's something you think you're gonna get done, and then you're like, "Oh, another mile to go." But it's phenomenal. So a few things about, the one coming up here is registration is open. It's gonna close on January 15th of the upcoming year. One thing that has changed, and I think this is because we want more students to feel opportunity, is we're not gonna have the audition process. We're just gonna go by a
Neat.
director nomination. So just to
Fantastic.
right, just to make it a little bit easier for kids. We also know, coming off of a lot of things, like an audition is sometimes a little bit of a hurdle, and we don't think, for this experience, we need that hurdle. We just need the director to, give the okay for the kid, and off we go. But the instructors that we're going to have along here are top notch, and just the whole experience with meeting everybody from across the country. It's going to be phenomenal. We really hope, like, as many people as possible really think about this opportunity that they have in front of them.
And to our listeners out there, there is a website. It's marching.musicforall.org/rose. So marching.musicforall.org/rose. And it's open to winds, percussion, and color guard. I just got my little notes on some of these things, but I want to encourage, now that you say that it's nomination, I think that's fantastic. That's a lot. Up here in the Pacific Northwest, there's many of our things function on nomination. And some of the positives of that is it celebrates all band programs, and not all programs can have kids that take private lessons. And there are some great kids out there that if they just found that spot and that spark, they
Yep.
will catch up and go. So that is amazing. So congratulations to you on all that. That goes to me, that belief that, I always feel like you directors, I guess I'm one too, but I'm just saying that sometimes it's hard for us to take compliments, because when we're the people looking on the outside and we look to you as our heroes, that sometimes we don't see it that way, because it is literally like there's somebody out there that watches your program. There's somebody out there that watches you. There's somebody out there that's trying to find, how can I chase that success? And I see all of those things that you do, and I just can't express how wonderful you are as a teacher. And I encourage anyone to go check out the website and check out some recordings, because Melissa Gustafson-Hinds, you are an amazing teacher. And so, oh, look, it is our final thoughts for the day. So does this show not go too fast? That's all I'm going to keep saying to everyone. I have like 500 questions in my head, but thinking in terms of culture and just you and band, or anything you want to share, what would be a nice final thought that you have for our audience before you have to leave?
Well, I would say probably a final thought is, like, it's all worth it. I know it's a lot, but you're making a difference with everybody that's in front of you, and within whatever resources you have, it's worth it to make the right decisions for kids. So that's the big lens for me, is every day I'm like, what can I do to serve others and make their experience the best I possibly can within the resources that we have? And we are blessed to have a lot of resources here at O'Fallon, but we're not the end all be all. But I have also taught in places where I'm I am the music teacher at the school, and I'm writing the drill, and I'm writing the color guard choreography, and I'm sewing costumes, and I've been that person. So I understand all of that. But I think, even just relationship wise, leading them, being there for them, we are honored to be music teachers, and should always think about that on every day that we are there with kids.
Oh, and here's your email. This is quite a
Yep.
doozy of an email, by the way.
I
It's
know.
Gustafson-Hinds at oths.us. I'm going to spell it. It's Gustafson dash HINDSM at oths.us. So Gustafson-Hinds at oths.us. Oh, I think that's like the first time I haven't tongue twisted an email.
No, good job.
Oh my goodness. You are such a dynamo, and I am enamored with your student-centered approach. I think you are fantastic. We are lucky to have you on the show, and I wish you success this weekend, but I
Thank
already know
you.
that your success is every time you step in front of kids. You are amazing.
Well, thank you. And thank you for having me on the show. And if anybody ever needs anything at all, or just needs to talk or anything, I am there, because I've had plenty of people mentor me along the way. And obviously I've got a lot of people I still call today. The job is big, but as I said before, it's worth it. And I want to give a big thanks to all the music teachers that are listening or will listen to this podcast for all the great things that you do for kids across our country. I mean, music is powerful and it is life changing, and it's memories and relationships. And I am honored to be one of those people right with you.
Well, it is so exciting. We finally got to talk for a longer period of time today. This is
Right.
exciting. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in to today's episode of Culture Before Content on the Music for All podcast networks. Again, I want to thank Yamaha, our national presenting sponsor, and Music for All for making this podcast possible. We're grateful for the continued support, and thank you to my fantastic staff for helping me get this done each and every week. And before you go, don't forget to share this episode. If you're listening, share it, tell everyone about it. Listen in the car, listen at school, listen in your music ed class. But we hope to see you all next week for another great episode of Culture Before Content.